There is now the worst recession of our lifetime. Not my lifetime. There was a recession when I was born. It was my fault. But I started the agency that Brian and I ran. We started it in a recession. And if you're worried about what to do about the recession, I'll tell you what to do about the recession. Don't worry about the recession. Let other people worry about the recession. That's their problem, you know. Your problem is just to get on with it. So I thought this is the way somebody went for an order in those days, the 1930s. Let nothing, absolutely nothing, interfere with immediate action. A change for the better justifies no delay. Don't watch others making money you can make. Be up and doing now. Some other time may be too late. Place your order and application this very minute. Take the action now that means more money next week, independence next year. The guy wanted you to reply. But I never have less than 3 requests for action in a piece of copy. Never less, yeah? Preferably more. I'm sure you know the old joke about, you know, how to get lots of activity in your bed. You know, you just walk up and down Oxford Street in London asking girls if they will. You get a lot of slaps, but you have a good time. Yeah? The more you ask, the more you get. This is something I use a lot and have used for many, many years. This is what a salesman does. What a salesman does is he makes you choose. You know, somebody rings you up and says, could I see you, Laura, to show you this presentation? You know, and if you say yes, he says, would next week be okay? Yes, no. Would Monday or Tuesday be okay? Morning or afternoon? Yeah? Oh, can I talk to you later? Yeah? This is it. Please tell me what you want by returning this page. Yes, please, I have something I'd like to discuss right now. Maybe you could help. Perhaps I find your thinking interesting, but I have nothing specific in mind. Keep in touch, but don't badger me. No thanks, I'm perfectly happy with my present arrangements, but if things change, I may call you. Right idea, wrong person. I find what you say interesting, but you'd be better off talking to my colleague so-and-so at so-and-so. I'll pass this letter on to them. Thank you for... yeah? Make people choose. Yeah? Yes, no, maybe. Not this, something else. Make them choose. Don't just go for a simple yes. Yeah? I'm going to talk to you about 3 sins. Things are getting better. Thank God the man's starting to talk about something interesting at last. You know? 3 sins, yeah? Greed. I want something for nothing. Fear. Sloth. So there are 3 things very, very important. People are lazy, they're greedy, they're frightened. Have you ever thought there's a little thing that goes through your mind when you're about to buy something? Actually, James showed, I think you showed some very interesting pictures of people's brains when they were thinking of making a buying decision, yeah? All sorts of shit goes on in you. It's a very emotional moment, yeah? That's why the cathartic moment, after that, when you then say, oh, would you like to buy something else? Or my favourite line is, would you like fries with that, yeah? Because you're in a state of relief. Oh, I've made the decision to buy. Now I'll buy lots and lots of other stuff, you know. Yeah? So, the fear of making a decision. So these 3 human emotions are the reasons why incentives work. Yeah? People are too lazy to read or listen or watch, too lazy to reply. They fear that if they buy... How many people here have gone... How many times have you done this? Gone into a store, there's been a sale on, and you bought something because it was cheap, yeah, and you go home and it doesn't fit. Or it's the wrong colour, or you can't even remember why you bought it in the first place, yeah? Because you wanted greed, you wanted something for nothing. Yeah? My ex-wife was the most extravagant woman who ever lived in a tightly contested race. You don't believe me, do you? Anybody who's got a wife who bought a house without telling them, put your hand up. Anybody who's got a wife who bought 3 cars on one day without telling them, Put your hand up. Okay, well, she was like that. And she was also she had the largest single collection of unguents, cosmetics, scents, perfumes, and this, that, and the other in the world. This did not stop her coming home with yet another bag and saying to me, but I've got this wonderful bag for you from Ralph Lauren. So that's another thing, it's an excuse as well, you know. The incentive is an excuse, yeah? And it's greed, sloth, and fear, yeah? Fear of buying something that you don't know you should have bought, that you can't afford, you know. So you must sell your incentive, yeah? If I just say to you, here's a free so-and-so, well, a free so-and-so is worth what you paid for it. It's free, it's worth nothing, yeah? But we've done these tests actually with one client. If I say to you, here's a free pen, yeah? Well, that's all right, I get so many. And I say, here's a free pen made by Parker, response goes up a bit. If I say a free pen with a gold-plated nib made by Parker, response goes up a bit. If I say a free pen with a gold nib made by Parker worth 127 quid, up goes the response. So if it's worth nothing in the mind of the people you're talking to. Yeah? But when you sell your incentive, when you've got an incentive, never just say free something. Say, imagine I had to sell this thing. Yeah? So here is part of the most successful direct mail letter ever written, i.e. the one that took the most money, which I'm not going to go through today, but it's for, if anyone's interested, it was for the Wall Street Journal. And this was the leaflet that went with it. So, by the way, the more desirable, the more it's worth. If it's a book, give it a title, say how many pages it has, and say it has pictures. Describe it in great detail, as though you were selling it, yeah? And just another trick, if possible, retail it, setting a value. What you'll see done a lot on the internet, particularly by the Americans, very clever, they'll hold an event like this, which they'll charge an amazing amount of money for. And they'll video it, yeah? And they'll say, you can have this thing which other people paid $5,000 for, yours for nothing. Yeah? Because what does it cost? So that is the little leaflet that went out with the Wall Street Journal. Welcome to the intriguing and often baffling world of money and investing, a world that seems remote from our daily lives, yet it directly affects our pocketbooks. How far our money goes in the supermarket, how much we earn on our investments, and what it will cost to buy or refinance our homes. Written in plain everyday English, the Wall Street Journal Guide to Understanding Money and Investing solves the mysteries. They sell it, yeah? They sell it. You've got to sell it. You've got to sell it. Makes all the difference. Yeah? And this is the sorts of reasons why you can tell people to do something. Incentives, carrots, the donkey chasing the carrot. You can have one for replying. Reply, give you so-and-so. Reply in the next 5 days, give you so-and-so. Oh, if you buy two, we'll give you so-and-so. Yeah? Oh, we have the deluxe version. When I did the Bullworker, there was a guy called Kurt Swinton, who was a very ex-Encyclopedia Britannica guy. And he came in one day and he said, the Bullworker makes you big and strong. Remember that? See? And he said, why don't you sell an executive Bullworker? And we said, what? You're taking the piss. No, he said, no. He said, I said, what's the difference between the executive Bullworker and the ordinary Bullworker? He said, well, it costs £2 more and it's got gold handles. 20% of all sales with the executive Bullworker cost the same amount of money to make, and you'll always find a deluxe version is worth slinging in, yeah? For trying something else, I'll give you an incentive if you'll also try this, yeah? I'll give you an incentive for recommending a friend. So you just think of an excuse to give people an incentive, yeah? Try a few sticks you can buy on a certain date or on a certain day. Once at the Franklin Mint, we sent out a mailing. we'd got the date wrong, the month wrong, so it was actually open for one day only. And it made money. Yeah? There are only so many left. I gave you the example that Bernie Silver gave me. We've only got so many units left. It's a limited edition, which is an industry on its own. Whenever you can offer something and make it limited, very, very important. Only for certain customers. I showed you that earlier on, advance offering, yeah? Always try and make people feel special. That's another aspect of what are you being when you're being charming? You're making people feel special. Yeah? There's a good story told about that, about Disraeli and Gladstone, who hated each other. And there was a lady who met both Disraeli and Gladstone, great prime ministers. And somebody said to this lady, so what was the difference between Mr. Disraeli and Mr. Gladstone? And she said, I met Mr. Gladstone, I was so impressed. I thought this is the most wonderful person in the world. Absolutely wonderful. And then when I met Mr. Disraeli, I thought, I am the most wonderful person in the world. Always say why you're being so nice, yeah? Always explain it. People are very, very suspicious, yeah? I'm saying thank you. I did this for Which magazine. I said, actually, why are we doing this? Why are we doing a sweepstake? Because it's actually it's better for you. It's a cheaper way for getting customers, so we can offer a better deal. Yeah? It's our centenary. Any excuse will do. I think Brian and I, we remember that we did one for Friends Provident. It was the 125th anniversary. I mean, you know, let's all celebrate. And the thing is that people are very cynical. They always think the cost comes out of the product. And you have to explain to them, you know, that no, it really does work. Yeah? What's a good incentive? Add value rather than cheapening the brand. One of the reasons why Dell are in trouble is because how many people here get emails from Dell? Lots of you? Every single bloody email says, cheap this, cheap that. This is how General Motors and Ford destroyed themselves, and Chrysler. It was all cheap, 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 cheap. It's no use telling me it's cheap if I don't want it. Yeah? First you've got to prove that I should have it. Then tell me it's cheap. Give me a discount. So that adds value and that cheapens your brand. Yeah? The only time you should really use discounts as a general rule is to acquire a customer or say after a year, say thank you very much, here's $1. Yeah? There must be a reason behind it. Be sparing. I had over the weekend I had one of the marketing directors at Everest to stay with us, and we were actually talking about. I said, "You're in a terrible situation because you know you're in an industry where it's driven by discounting." Yeah? And he said, "Yeah, we know it. You know, we're constantly trying to find ways of getting out of it." Yeah. I'm hoping, with a bit of luck, to try and make it to Australia again and see my friend Malcolm Old in Sydney. And this is one of his mailings, which I absolutely love. So the name of the firm is RAMS, yeah? Royal Australian something or other. Yeah? So he's got get an even better performance from your home loan. Details inside. Here's an important point, yeah? Get a free pair of slippers like us. Call today to find out how. Envelopes have fronts and backs. Use both of them if you can. Yeah? I showed you the envelope that said about pensions, and when I was shown it, I just turned to the person who'd done it, and I said, "You missed a trick." And she said, "I know." I said, "You should have had something on the back." She said, "I know." Yeah. Talk to you a little bit about writing. Yeah. The literal there, actually, each year 1.5 times his own weight in other people's patients. So this is what I call jargon dementia. Audience-centric strategies and tactics that empowered my fellow trainees, relevant, meaningful bollocks. Kudos are in order. Yeah? There's a lot of this stuff in marketing, you know, pretentious drivel. Also in marketers, you know, detect that bullshit and get rid of it. When you should use jargon, I'm not saying you should not use jargon, because what people say is, oh, our industry is very specialised. You know, they all understand this stuff, you know. So what about the poor buggers who don't? You know? The time you should use the jargon is you just use enough jargon to convince people that you know what you're talking about, you're in the same game. Yeah? And the analogy you might like to remember is this one. They all sniff each other's bottoms to say, are we all on the same time? That's all you're trying to do. We're on the same team as you, that's all. You don't have to write down your estimates, but just a quick exercise. Here's a letter, yeah? Now at last the internet is delivering what it promised, yeah? Through the remarkable technology of live webcasting, 500,000 people around the world took part in Apple's live Worldwide Developers Conference last May. Only 2,000 were actually there in San Jose. Yeah. So it was the first mailing to sell webcasting, which I wrote in a hotel room in New York far too quickly. There you are. So it went out to marketing directors and managing directors. How many people would you think would open bearing in mind they've got a secretary, you know, or a PA who sort of... What do you think? Any guess will do. How many people do you think actually got to the point where the secretary, they opened it themselves or the secretary plonked it on their desk? Anyone? 5%? 10%? Any advance on 10? 30? Any advance on 30? Do I hear 40? I love it. Okay, we've got 30. Okay. How many people do you think actually read the damn thing? Out of 5%, between 5 and 30% opened it, how many people do you think actually read it? To some degree. Have a guess. 20. This is something, by the way, that costs £75,000, but they're only being asked to give people time for a meeting to go and, you know. 20 is the highest, yeah? What's the lowest? Deirdre, you were very cynical.
It's difficult to read it clearly, but going back to the first page, I would have thought it would be lower than...
Lower than 2%.
And a lot lower than other things that you've written.
Okay, and how many people do you think would have replied of these marketing directors and managing directors? At what percentage? 10%. Well, you're almost right. 12% replied. After 12%, they stopped counting. The marketing director of Calvin Klein replied. The marketing director of Unilever replied. The marketing director of all sorts of very large... I was so surprised myself, but there you are. So the thing is not is it long, it's not are they important, it's is it interesting and relevant at that time to those people. Yeah? This is about length of copy, which is people ask a lot about, and Abraham Lincoln is the man who was asked how long a man's legs should be, and he said long enough to reach the ground. We've talked a bit about length of copy, so I won't go on about it. But this is the landing page for Airdim, which is the thing I run in the autumn, and I actually thought, I don't know how long it is, you know. And I'll tell you one thing: it's not a very good landing page. There are lots of things wrong with it. We can see, yeah. 6,922 words, but it works. Yeah? Because plus 12 videos, yeah? It works. So that's John Caples. How many people here have read John Caples? Very good. You're a pretty bloody good audience. By most audiences, I'll tell you, like 3 people will put their hand up, and one of them will be somebody who couldn't hear you properly. So John Caples, Ogilvy told me over dinner one night that everything he had learnt from John Caples. What about email differences? I'm going to show you lots and lots of little examples, some of which you may have seen, just to try and highlight the kind of emails that tend to work, yeah? To give you some ideas about what you ought to do, yeah? I can't teach you to write today, I can only teach you what you ought to do, you know? And I hope to actually do it after lunch, you'll find it very useful, to be honest. So the most important thing is, who is it from, yeah? By far, yeah? We pay far more attention to somebody we know than somebody we don't. Yeah? Somebody we like than somebody we don't. Next comes the subject line, which is the equivalent to the headline or the envelope line. People hate spam more than junk, and it's going to get worse, and the thing that's going to really, really piss people off is text messages. I'm getting a lot that are really pissing me off. Yeah? So spam filters will stop many of the benefits that people like me have spent years learning how to put together. You know, for instance, if I had my old Bullworker line, which made money all over the world, was Britain's heavyweight weights, blah, 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 and it said how these 7 exercises can build you a power pack body in 42 seconds a day. It would get killed, the numbers, it would, you know, all the benefit things get killed, yeah? So you have to find quirky things that work, that imply a benefit, perhaps, yeah? Talking about length, short emails leading to, well, I tend to write short emails leading to long, long landing pages where people are interested, they can read as much as they like. The longest I've seen was for, does anyone here follow the Motley Fool, the investment thing? Motley Fool, I actually measured one of their landing pages. If it had been printed out, it would have been 256 pages long. Yeah? Because people are interested in money. Videos work like a charm. Videos that really work like a charm. You know, quite incredible. Can you... I'll show you a thing that we put on a landing page. This is another client I'm really rather fond of because they're quite different to anything else I've worked on before. So I went down to Devon with Al and we interviewed the top, I think the top event writer in... So we make the offer at the beginning, yeah? A lot of people, particularly in sporting circles, believe that visualizing at the moment when you succeed is incredibly important. Do you believe that's true, or is it just a myth?
Well, it's the positive. I think you've got to stay very, very positive, and I suppose that visualizing winning is a very positive sign.
I'm not here to teach you how to become an event writer. But that's 37 minutes long, and people will watch it and watch it and watch it and watch it, you know, because she's a fantastic, you know, person. And I'm just talking to her and saying, how do you do it? How do you do it? People love to know that stuff. Here's one of my clients in Singapore. No, this isn't. No, this is a client who's now in Australia, but this is one of my helpful ideas. How many people get helpful ideas? Most of you, I imagine. Yeah. So this one... here is the glamorous star of this helpful idea, and if you don't find it useful, I bet someone you know will. But you see, the subject line was actually maybe the most helpful marketing idea was the subject line, yeah? So it does imply a benefit. It doesn't say what it is. So I actually asked Al, go and find me the most successful emails I've sent out in the last 4 years, yeah? So that's one of them. Make your writing, not your readers, do the work. Do you have too much to read? Blah, 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 blah. That was also extremely successful, but not short. Yeah, not short. Here's another little quiz for you. What do these messages have in common? Yeah? And the subject was just surprise. Yeah? Surprise. And these are the most successful... all these headlines have got an element of surprise. Drive it like you hate it. Cash if you die, cash if you don't. They're all surprise headlines, yeah? Why Churchill never used jargon. So they're all very quirky, yeah? And this is really funny because I actually had this wrong. This is actually Bradley. And I said he was on... I knew I was wrong, actually, and somebody wrote to me, but... Then I was able to send us another email and say, yeah, I was wrong. People like that when you say, yeah, I'm wrong. dig deep. Here's something, a little something to get your attention, yeah? And this is a trick you use, yeah? I'll explain what he's doing there in a minute. What you're trying to do is keep people reading. Here's something, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Yeah? It's just like with children. Yeah? I'm not going to tell you what it is. What makes you hopping mad? Yeah? And I've used that twice. That works extremely well. Yeah? The obvious is always overlooked. This is a trick, yeah? Got to find out what it is, yeah? Interruptive things work tremendously well on the internet. Things that go, yeah? This is from Rowan, whom I mentioned before when he was running Virgin Wines. Dear Kate, I'm not a sensitive person by nature, but I have to say I'm feeling a little hurt that I invited you to join our club over and over and you've clearly decided not to. So for one last time, I'm offering you your first trial club case, half price at just $39.99. That's a ridiculously low $3.33 a bottle plus 2 free gifts worth 30 quid and so on. Yeah? This was tested against, help me keep my job, please. Also quite long copy. Hmm? The question is, which one do you think did better? I'm not a sensitive person. 3 reasons not to join on club was tested against. Help me keep my job. Who thinks A? Who thinks B? Yeah, A indeed did do better. I think Rowan wrote it himself. I thought B was, they were both successful. Yeah? But very, very important to test. I could not have told you which one would have done better. I had a feeling that his would. I didn't know he'd written it. But I think they were both very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Would A have been more successful partly because it's text, not HTML?
Did it do better because it was text? I think so, very much so. We think that text is what? What do we think, Al? Where's Al? Where's he on? How much better do we think it is?
Difference from text to text, but my theory is when you have a text email come through, it's like someone's written to you. If you look at B there, that clearly is advertising propaganda. Whereas if you look at A, for a split second, hey, someone's written me an email, I'll read it.
I think there's also a technical reason in that I have images turned off,
Very true, yeah.
so you don't
Yeah.
see it, and I wouldn't even turn the image on for that.
So there is an analogy there, incidentally, because Al was saying he thinks that a text one looks personal. It's somebody's written to me. Yeah. There is a very close analogy. I've done quite a few speeches, particularly in America, about the fact that everything that's going on the internet is very familiar to me because it's something I learned offline before there was an online. And one of the first things I learned was don't send a leaflet through the post, it will kill. Send a letter. A letter will always beat a leaflet, yeah? Because a letter is personal. I think it's the same thing with emails to people. Yeah? But you see what I did in my emails, I will be very personal. Then I might put something in, you know, that's surprising. But then the difference between those emails I've shown you and a cold email to somebody who doesn't know you is that people know me and they know where it's coming from, yeah? So they know it's personal from me. So being personal is intensely important. I thought you might like this. This is something that one of my clients, and this is the client in Singapore, cash in while everyone else is scared. Drayton, do you know the best time to invest when everyone else is scared? As the world's richest investor, Warren Buffett put it, we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy and to be greedy only when others are fearful. He's selling very, very expensive property, yeah? And he sends out very long emails with pictures, yeah? But they do start out very personal, yeah? And I just said to him, which ones have done best, Adrian? And he said, well, that's the one that you did, blah, blah, blah. Which was his idea. I sometimes do this with people. They'll draft something and I'll mess about with it, you know? But here's one I had nothing to do with, which is an example of what social marketing is all about, is where you send stuff to sell things to people, and then you send other stuff that's just for fun, but is related to what you're talking about. So this is another one of his that had me in bloody stitches. you fancy a frog on a stick or a grilled millipede? I'm sure, Drayton, let me tell you more. So it's all about, he lives in Thailand, yeah? Or he's got, yeah? How about some grilled millipede? Yeah? And he's actually saying for properties in other areas of Thailand, this guy comes to our office almost every day, yeah? And for dessert, yeah? So he's selling property in exotic places, and people like to know about exotic places. It's a bit of fun, but it is relevant to what he's selling, yeah? What you do has got to be relevant to what you're selling. This is just stuff you should know. It's very simple. I'm not going to waste any time on it, but it's stuff you should know. That there's lots of stuff about what's easy to read and what's not easy to read, and what's the use of you writing stuff if nobody can bloody well read it. And pretty much everything this guy discovered, he did research for 20 years into, he didn't say to people, which typeface do you like, or do you like this better than this? He just said, can you please read this and tell me what you think you just read? And he just did it on how well did they comprehend it, and he said, how easy did you find it to read? That's all. Yeah? So that's the easiest layout, because people's eyes go to the top of the thing, a third down. Captions are important because when people see a picture, there's an art gallery up the road. If you go into that art gallery and you watch people looking at pictures, they'll go like this. And then they'll look at the picture. We're used to, what is this picture? So captions are very important. Narrow columns, so the eye doesn't have to work hard. Yeah. This sort of will increase readership, yeah. Bold coupons, I read some research the other day, not the other day, about 6 months ago, said, somebody's done some research on the internet, and guess what? People's eyes are drawn to bold elements. What a surprise is that? Of course they are. So this, if you reset this in serif, sans serif, it reduces good comprehension from 67 to 12%, yeah. The reason for that is that people's eyes slip down. The serif keeps people's eyes on the line. Now, there's a lot of controversy at the moment going on what's easy to read on the internet, partly because of the pixels, yeah? So the only thing I can say to you is make sure there is plenty of leading between the lines, yeah? Especially if you've got small letters, yeah? So that kills comprehension in print. That kills comprehension everywhere. That will halve response, no problem. Lots of people do that on the internet, particularly, flashy advertising agencies. Very difficult to read, in large volume, yeah? Not in small volume. If you set something to a very wide measure, people have to work at it. Look at the way newspapers are set. They're not set like that, yeah? So that's pretty fatal. There's oceans of research about this on the internet as to where people's eyes go. Just pay attention to it, study it, yeah? Again, just to repeat, no use you writing marvellous stuff if nobody can read it, or nobody comprehends it, or they find it hard work. Yeah? So people don't know whether to go there or down there, and very often they will miss this. Illustrations do not work as well as photographs. There are three types of four really. So there are graphs and charts convey information very quickly, yeah? Then there's the illustration. Yeah? That's got to be very, very careful with illustrations because a photograph is much more credible. So if you've got something that people have to look at and say, is it nice or not? There's no use to be putting an illustration of a washing machine, or a kitchen. People want to know what it looks like. The thing that will attract the most attention is a cartoon. That will get lots and lots of attention, yeah? But it's not very convincing. And the thing that has the most credibility, of course, is a photograph. Yeah. Well, that's obvious. If you put something in a strange... There's lots of stuff on the internet about where you should put stuff. Very, very important. Somebody sent me website wanted my comments on a website, and I looked at it and I thought, blind, this man is, I don't know who told you to do this, but if you paid for it, you should shoot them, you know, because everything was in the wrong place. You know. People won't go up there. The law of gravity applies. Faces, I've said this to you before. You see your face looking out at you. Have you got anybody here got small babies? Well, I go and see my grandchild in New York, my youngest anyhow, fairly regularly. And I tried this little trick on him. I got a piece of paper and I put two big black dots in the middle, yeah? And I put them in front of him. And he goes, we are genetically trained to recognise the face, yeah? The two eyes. Again, the eye doesn't know where to go, so tracking is very, very important. Caps are difficult to read because, say, if you write my name, well, my name has a shape, yeah? If I rewrite my name in caps, it's got no shape. It's harder to recognise. So large volumes of caps, which are very popular with art directors, are not a good idea. In fact, I used to say cynically that almost everything that art directors like is a bad idea. Again, you're making people's eyes, they don't have to work at all. The eye doesn't have to work there. The eye has to adjust on the right if it's ranged left, which is again very popular. If it's ranged like this, that's insane, and if it's ranged like that, that's completely insane, because the eye's got to adjust at the beginning and the end of the line. So I am not saying to you, never do any of these things. I'm saying if you do them, know that you're doing them. If, for instance, you're using reversed out type, which is often a very good idea as a contrast in a headline to the body of an ad, by all means, but don't have the whole damn thing reversed out, you know. So be aware. You just have to know the rules in order to be able to ignore them, and most people don't know the rules. I mean, I think you're, if I may say so, you're very smart to be here, because most people in this business have no bloody idea what they are doing. Every day I get stuff from people and I look at it and I think, Jesus Christ. I mean, people say to me, when I used to do, I must write, I don't know, 15 or stuff, bits and pieces every week about marketing, yeah? And people say to me, how do you manage to do it? And I say, I can open the paper any day of the week in any country in the world, or watch television and I'll see some arsehole doing something stupid, yeah? And all I've got to do is to write something funny about it. And you know that you all know. You see it and you say, yep, there they go again. It's unbelievable. What to do with the envelope? Your firm's name is a message. Texture or colour grab attention. If you put things inside, yeah, people want to get inside. What's in there? It's all human nature. And I gave you the examples of Bill Jamie's envelope lines, or mine, you know, do you believe in life after death? Things that make people want to get inside, yeah? And that give a hint of the subject. I am increasingly persuaded, when I talk about marketing generally, I always say, forget everything else. Marketing is just about helping people to choose. That's it, yeah? And making sure they choose you. And one of the great things about it is if once you accept that, then you think to myself, if my job is to make people choose and make sure they choose me, well, I better get my shit together and offer something good. I must improve my offering. Yeah? That's far more important than anything I will say today. Improve what you offer. And there are many ways in which people can be. This is a fantastic thing. This is devised originally by a firm in Germany. It was a firm I've done some work with called, I can never even remember their name anyhow, they're in Norway. And it looks so official, yeah? And it works like a charm. And the proposition is fantastic. It just says, give us 50p and we'll give you a new 50p piece. And the first time I thought, why did they do that? And I thought, what they're doing, they're building a list so fast of people who want to collect coins, yeah? And that's an example done here, but I've seen it done, that's the Royal Mint. I've seen it done by another client that I've worked with called Westminster Mint, so it works very well. The purpose of the envelope, what's the single biggest difference between people who are massively successful and those who are not? They all always look inside. Yeah? Ever felt you'd be better off not wearing your glasses? Nothing will beat a demonstration. Yeah, it's a demonstration. Yeah? Right. You've seen that, yeah? And that envelope gets opened. The question is, why does it get opened? It gets opened because people look at it and say, oh, it's from overseas, yeah? I never even noticed that. A picture is not more blah, blah, blah than 1,000 words. What it is it's quicker. You see something and your brain takes it, oh, it's something different, blah, blah, blah. And that's the purpose. Your purpose is to make sure that people will look at your stuff rather than someone else's stuff. Yeah? And that does the trick. That, incidentally, is the one that got 2% in America and 2% in the UK. And people always talk about this mythical figure of what's the normal response rate for about 2%. That's the only time I can ever remember getting 2%. You know, I've got one client, if they get 0.15%, they're as happy as Larry. Because what they sell costs 12,000 quid. Yeah? Another one, it tells you inside, oh, there's an envelope. Yeah, that's another one we did for them. How to get the cash you need only 1 week from now. It only takes 10 minutes and a free phone call. This also is an absolute winner because I knew that when you want cash, all you want, give me the money now. Could you manage to get it to me yesterday? Yeah? So the minute I say, they want the money, I'm going to give it to them quickly, yeah? And it's going to be easy, quick and easy. Gimmicks. This is one of my favourite. It wasn't done by me at all. It was done in New Zealand to get people to come to a seminar that I was doing at breakfast in Wellington and Auckland. And it was hand-delivered, yeah? 72% of the people who got that came to the breakfast, yeah? So gimmicks work particularly well with business executives, which we actually did a video once in New York of secretaries talking about their bosses. And one of them said, do they like things to play with? Oh yeah, anything rather than working. Always talk extra benefit before lower cost. Only £1 a day, I've mentioned this before, only £1 a day means nothing until I want it. Lived 17 years longer for only £1 a day is the right way around, yeah? Give me the benefit first, yeah? This is people say, is personalisation a good idea? Well, why would it not be a good idea, yeah? This is Lord Byron, of course, how sweet it is to see thy name in print. So here's an example of personalisation. One thing, of course, I don't do this, and Alan and I must have it. We used to do this. We used to use first names, and we don't anymore. I think because he says it's too difficult, but he's a lying bugger. I'm on to him. But Adrian in Singapore does. He uses them all the time. They do work. We reckon they almost doubled response, didn't we? Come on.
Some say personalisation works, but what happens when you build a big email list is you're going to get a lot of people who don't put in their first name.
Yeah.
So you then have an issue. It's cleaner to take it out.
What he's saying is it's hard work to make sure that you really do have people's first names. Mara. Marie. Sorry, Marie. At my age, you're very lucky if you can recognise your own name, never mind anyone else's. Yeah, it's very hard work to get all the first names. And Al's in such a hurry to retire that he can't be bothered. You won't do it with me.
I mean, you could possibly give an incentive to get people to check their details so that you get a cleaner list.
Steve's saying, is it worth giving an incentive for people to give their name so you can clean your list?
Well, yes, that would make sense, but if you're list building, I generally find the less friction you have, the the more you collect. So people guard their email address a lot nowadays, and name, email address, it's just friction. I find it quick and easy. Give me your email address. It works. So
Yeah.
we have done a test where we took the first name request off, and in one instance it decreased results, so we put the first name request back in. But it's just, all traffic is different. Generally I find the less questions you ask, the more response you get, but the key is test. All traffic is different.
So he's saying it's hard. It really depends on how valuable that name is to you, as to whether you're prepared to spend the extra money to find out, because as he's saying, he uses this wonderful word, friction. Anything that makes it easier, that reduces the friction, tends to get you more response. But yeah. So this is something that was run in Australia. So it's this person's name, Stephen, blah, blah, blah. Yeah? Be specific, not vague. Don't tell me I'll get rich. Tell me how rich I'll get. Don't tell me I'll lose weight. Tell me how fast and how much. And be very careful of percentages. When I say, I'll give you 33% off. And you say, what's 33%? You know? I'll give you £15. I can relate to that. If it's a very, very... it depends on the sum of money. We found that, for instance, when we said, save $1, that was such a small amount of money, it was better to say valuable savings. So that's one of the kind of things you have to test. Yeah? And if you say, save £30,000, if people say, bloody hell, it must be expensive, you know. That's quite, you've got to be careful. This, of course, David Ogo's the most famous advertisement. 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in this new Rolls Royce comes from the electric clock. And if you read this advertisement, it's full of figures and details, like the engines are running for so many hours, the car is 10 inches longer than, and so on and so on. You know. Very, very detailed figures. Very, very important. Nothing is more convincing than detailed and specific figures. If you can, try and find a theme to your communication. Yeah? People love themes. You can think about it in the context of ordinary commercial stuff, you know, like the 24-hour series. People love themes, you know. They love themes. So this is something that Chris Jones and I did years ago. And it says, the offer is, believe it or not, your car could go more than 30,000 miles without you buying a drop of petrol. And it was to get people it was a database cleaning. So it says, be honest about yourself and you could go a long way free. And the letter begins, I say, I'll be honest with you, you bought a car from us a while ago, but we don't know what's happened since. So can you tell us, yeah? We wrote this for that particular client. And there, be honest about yourself and you could go a long way free. It was actually to clean the database. It sold them more cars than they'd ever sold before.
And there's the incentive.
Pardon?
And there's the incentive in it.
Yeah, that's the incentive. Well, the problem with that was that the client was an arsehole. This is a common problem we found. Strategic problem. What's your strategic problem? The client's an arsehole, you know. Is he? How big an arsehole is he? Well, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, try 54. You know. So this client said, after I'd said, yeah, we could do this, clean the database, please tell us more about yourself. They said, oh, we'd like to sell some spare parts and servicing. Oh, all right. So we thought, and then Chris said, let's put it in a brown envelope. Oh, fine. Then the client gets back and says, we'd like to sell some cars as well. So we had to put it all in the envelope. Bloody hell, don't talk to me about them. I can't remember why I put that up. What was I talking about? Oh, this is my daughter, now 15, but when she was 2, she used to stand in front of the television set and watch. Anybody here familiar with the purple dinosaur? Barney the purple dinosaur, the lovable. So she'd sit and she'd go A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P Q R S T U V. Won't you be? Blah, blah. And I always remember this. I always remember it because she repeated it. Yeah, and she was learning through repetition, and the Q made it stick in my mind. Yeah. So the reason I put that up, apart from the fact she knows more about how to bloody well sell on the internet than a lot of large corporations, you are teaching people your proposition. That's what you're doing, yeah? That's what you're really doing. Yeah? Teaching works by fixing things in the mind, yeah? That's why you should repeat the things, yeah? And it uses stories, involvement, surprise, and repetition. Yeah? A lot of people think, well, people say, oh, you know, business to business, it's so different. It isn't different. So this is the percentage of people wanting to hit a work colleague in the last year. So that's how unemotional and logical people are about business, yeah? So here's one, again, from my ex-partner. This one got DHL. We sent out 3 emails like this to dispatch managers doing the most boring job on earth, where nobody cared about them. People only spoke to them when they wanted to complain. Here are 3 simple facts. How much impact would they have on so-and-so's success and your own? And it says 3 simple facts to take the pressure off you. And then we had another one that says, how to be a hero for a change. And all these things appeal to human emotions and worked extremely well. Easy ways to get more replies: bigger, bolder coupons, phone numbers, website addresses, pre-fill in names and show how to order, make the form bigger, a memorable phone number, on screen longer, telling people how to reply on every page, asking repeatedly for a reply, and the PS. And flashes, arrows and scribbles on screen work very, very well on the internet, yeah? 2 pieces of advice: read the copy out loud. It should sound like someone talking. You know? People talk to themselves when they're reading. A lot of people, yeah? Show it to an idiot. This is advice given to me by my colleague, Mr. Thomas here, who told me about it many years ago, and I wasn't sure whether he was right or not. Because if it's, you know, if an idiot can understand it, anyone can understand it. Then I did some research, because, you know, I've worked in 51 countries now. In every single one of those countries, I've discovered that there are more idiots than clever people. And their money looks identical. And even if people are not idiots, they are not thinking when they read your stuff, yeah? So treat them as idiots, and the clever people will understand, and you'll do a lot better. 10 commandments for you. Write to the ideal prospect, and we're going to talk about this after lunch. Aim for relevant surprise. Appeal to deep emotions. Talk like a human being, not an actuary. Me talking to you. Use relevant knowledge, e.g. what you know about them from past messages. Get to the point fast with any second you delay, you're losing readers, yeah? You're losing listeners, you're losing viewers. Describe your offering fully. If there's an incentive, sell it. When I say describe your offering fully, I mean overcome every conceivable reason why somebody would not do what you want them to do, and give every reason why they should do what you want them to do. Make it clear and easy to read or follow, and ask forcefully and repeatedly for a reply. Always remember this. Terrific statement. We're going to overrun by about 1 minute. Chloe's at the back, getting really worried. This is one of the best advertisements I've ever seen, because I've known you all my life, because a Red Rudge bicycle once made me the happiest boy on the street, because you let me play cricket on the lawn, because you used to dance in the kitchen with a tea towel around your waist, because your checkbook was always busy on my behalf, because our house was always full of books and laughter, because of countless Saturday mornings you gave up to watch a small boy play rugby, because you never expected too much of me or let me get away with too little, because of all the nights you sat working at your desk while I lay sleeping in my bed. I mean, it's really, really fantastic stuff, yeah? For Father's Day. That was written, what's the man's name? by David Abbott, I believe the best copywriter in Britain. And David Abbott said of the man you're going to see later, James, he said, this man, what did he say?
He said he understands what it's all about.
He understands what it's all about. I hope you understand a little bit more about what it's all about. And did it help you do all these things? Yes? Good. And remember this. Respect your customer. Stay close to your customer. Use your imagination. And I talked about James, so there's one more thought. I'm glad you're here. It's great to know. Don't do that. Just read that. This is good. And later on, James will explain to you why that's a load of bollocks. Have lunch. I'll see you in an hour. Thank you very much.